Today I'm going to take a look at how to cut your thread when you've finished a beading project. Now that might sound like the most obvious thing in the world, but in fact, unless you do it carefully, you can end up with little tiny ends of thread showing, which sort of spoil the look when you've put all that work into the project. So as I've said in my blog, and if you found this video on YouTube, there is a link to the blog so you can read that as well. As I started out by saying, the most important thing is to have the right tools for the job. So let's take a quick look at the three main kind of beading cutters that I would use. First up, in the middle here, we've got these embroidery scissors. Now, the reason they're good is because if we just open them up and try and show them properly, you can see the blade is very narrow. So in a minute, when I do the demonstration, you're going to see why that's important. So that's one option. Next up, we've got actual bead cutters. So nice and easy to carry, slim, lightweight. And if you just take off this end, that reveals the cutting blade. Again, it's really nice and narrow. And you've got the end to put back on to keep them safe when you're carrying them. Now, depending on the type of beading thread you're using, some people find that the scissors can get blunted very easily by threads like fire lines, the sort of monofilament type thread. So the other option you've got is a thread zapper or thread burner. It's got a little safety catch on it, and you're going to see why in just a minute. It's battery operated, and basically if I push that button up, you'll see a little piece of wire comes out at the end. It's actually heated and it gets literally red hot, so I'm not going to keep it on. But that heating element will just literally burn through your thread. And it works on any thread, but it's especially good if you're using something like fireline. So let me just show you how these actually work when it comes to finishing up a beading project. Right, so I've got a little project here that I've completed. I've already woven through the beads, knotted between beads, and basically got to the point where the thread is ready to cut. Now the first little trick to think about is getting to the right point. So you'll notice I've come through to a point on the edge of this little box shape. That's because I can actually get at the thread more easily here than I could if I'd stopped on one of the faces. So whatever project you're working on, think about where might be the point where you can most easily access the thread. Now the real trick to getting a neat trim is to pull the thread back against itself, so it's naturally heading out of the bead in that direction. What I'm going to do is pull it back so it's sort of stretched against a bead. I would then take scissors, and remember I said these have a nice fine blade, so that means I can get in really up close to the bead and just cut the thread. I'm not going to do that with the scissors now because I want to show you how the thread burner works. So again, I've got that thread really pulled back tight in place. Just open up the burner, and you can put it in right up by the bead and just slice it through the thread. Didn't even see that go. Now the reason I'm being a little cautious there is I've also got other exposed threads in the work that I don't want to cut, and that's always a danger, more of a danger with the thread burner than it would be with the scissors, so that's just a little point to take care of. But that's really the main points to remember. Find a good exit point and then pull your thread back so you can get in as close to the beadwork as possible to trim, and with any luck the end of thread will sort of ping back into the bead and you can't even see now where I finished off.